Hi, I'm Hannah Sokup, the Oral History Curator at the Mansfield Library's Archives and Special Collections, and today I'm going to show you how to look for guides to archival collections and the kinds of information they contain. So Archives and Special Collections posts guides to its archival collections to ArchivesWest, and just so you are aware, ArchivesWest has guides for archival collections for repositories all over the Northwest. So you can see here by this map which institutions contribute guides to their collections. And so it's really important when you come in here, you'll want to select, if you're looking for things here in the Mansfield Library's Archives and Special Collections, that you select the guides that are related to that repository. Otherwise, you might come in thinking, I'm going to look at this collection and find out that it's actually held by a repository in Portland or in Olympia or Walla Walla. The most direct way to get to this site is just to type in the URL, which is archiveswest.orbiscascade.org. So if you plan on doing a lot of research, archival research, it's a great idea to just bookmark this site so you have it handy. The other way you can get to it if you've forgotten how to access ArchivesWest and the direct URL is to just go to the Mansfield Library's website, click on Archives and Special Collections, and then scroll down here to the Finding Aids tab, and you can type in your search term, search full text of collection finding aids on ArchivesWest. So you could type in Frank Linderman, and you'd be taken to the ArchivesWest site. And it would show you just the guides related to Frank Linderman or that mention Frank Linderman in some way held by the University of Montana's Archives and Special Collections. So you can do that one of two ways. If you go directly to the ArchivesWest site and try searching that way, just remember you'll want to select the repository from this list here. You'll want to refine your search by repository. So if you only want things that are held in the Mansfield Library's archives, you'll want to select that as your repository. That being said, if you want to find out more information about Frank Linderman from sources that aren't available in the Mansfield Library's archives, you could click on any of these and see what they have. See the guides to their collections that might be related to Frank Bird Linderman. But we're going to click on this, and we'll get the exact same list that we got in the previous tab. So you can scroll through here and you can take a look. It's going to give you a collection title. It's going to give you a very brief summary of what the collection contains. And so we're going to click on the Frank B. Linderman Memorial Collection because it represents the productive and collective efforts of Frank Linderman in his many careers. And it also contains correspondence and photographs, both of which we're interested in. So we'll click here, and this takes you to the actual guide. Now the guide to a manuscript collection does not necessarily contain pictures or PDFs of the actual materials. It's merely a guide. What it does is give you a roadmap to what the collection contains and where you can find it, because many collections are boxes and boxes of materials. And you can see that here in the overview. You can see who created it. You can see the date ranges of the materials in the collection, and you can see how large the collection is, approximately 34.5 linear feet. So that's over 60 boxes of material. 10 oversized boxes, 81 objects, this collection contains artifacts, and 87 electronic files. So that's quite a large collection. What we want to do then is use this guide to help us narrow down our search and find the materials related to our research topic. That way we're not trying to look through 60 plus boxes for that one letter or that one photograph. Again, here you'll see the repository information. This is just a good reminder. If you see a repository other than the one you're looking in, you are probably looking at the wrong guide to a collection. Also, access restrictions. Some collections will have restrictions on access, maybe requested by the donor or maybe imposed by the archivist. So it's always a good idea to just double check this and make sure that the things that you want to see aren't restricted. In some cases it will say box 81 is restricted and you can only look at it if you get permission from the donor or from the family. So that's when you would want to call ahead, use the contact information to call or email and find out if getting permission from the individual is a possibility. Then you'll see a historical note. The historical note is going to either give you biographical information about the person represented in the guide and in the collection, or if it's an entity such as a business, a bank, a nonprofit organization, it's going to have an organizational sort of historical note, the history of that particular entity. So you'll see when Frank Linderman was born and to whom. You'll see the dates that he met and married and had 3 children and where he worked. You'll see some information about his careers. He was a politician, he was an assayer, a furniture salesman, he was a writer, and then you'll see that he devoted a great deal of his life to Montana's Native Americans, and so the bulk of the collection focuses on that. You'll also see information about his published books and when he passed away. And you'll see quite a bit of information about his children because they continued to carry on his legacy after he died. And then you'll see a content description. So this is where you'll find a little more information about what the collection has in it as a whole. So it contains correspondence and photographs. It also contains materials produced by Linderman's heirs, largely his daughters Wilda, Vern, and Norma. And finally then you'll get down to a description of the collection, and you'll see that the collection is broken into series, and these series can be found right here in the left-hand navigation as well. So you'll find biographical materials, then the correspondence has all been grouped into one series, Linderman's writings, his political career, all of those papers. You'll see artifacts, you'll see photographs. So this is what the archivists did. They went through and they tried to kind of group like materials together to make it easier for a researcher to use the collection. You'll see a biographical note about this series, and you'll see information about what materials are in this series. Then you'll see that the items are arranged chronologically and that what box and folder they're in. So if you were just interested in biographical information about Linderman, you would want to look in box 1, folder 1. If you were interested in correspondence, you'd go down here to series 2, read the series note to get a general idea of what kinds of correspondence you would expect to find, and then look through this. It says within these groups, materials are arranged alphabetically as appropriate. So that kind of helps you if you're looking for his correspondence with Archie Bray. You'd go down to B, you'd see it's in box 1, folder 15. So then if you came into the archives, you could actually request to look at box 1, folder 15. So that's just a brief overview of how you can access and read collection guides here on ArchivesWest for collections held by the Mansfield Library's Archives and Special Collections. If you have more questions about this and you want to know why materials aren't represented digitally in the guide, or how you can get access to the materials that are listed in the guide, you can contact the Mansfield Library's Archives and Special Collections by mail, by phone, or by email, and we'll be happy to chat with you about that.